Hey. Hi, hello, welcome. Thank you guys for tuning in to the East Coast Greenway Alliance Impact Series for 2021. My name is Angela Hollowell. I am a content specialist with the East Coast Greenway Alliance, and I will be your host for this afternoon. We'll be hearing from Brent, Bruce, and Niles Barnes, who are regional coordinators and the deputy director for the East Coast Greenway Alliance on the state of Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. And we won't just be hearing from them. We want to add your voice to the conversation. So if you're tuning in live with us on Facebook and YouTube, feel free to drop any questions and comments you have in the chat, and we'll definitely try to get those answered for you towards the end of our broadcast here. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in with us today. If you're new to the Impact Series, this is a time of reflection, celebration, and envisioning everything that's coming to the East Coast Greenway in the coming year. So without further ado, I will impact our first speaker of the night. We will have Niles Barnes speaking on Florida. As some of you may know already, our Florida Regional Coordinator position is open currently. So Niles will be standing in to talk about that position. I'm going to bring him on the stage. Hey, Niles, how's it going?
Hey, good evening, Angela. Great to be here.
Yes, thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you for stepping in to share what's going on in Florida. So, as I said, we have some really, really exciting things that have happened this year, and we want to dig into those a little bit. So, can you tell us a little bit about some of the exciting developments that we've seen in Florida along the East Coast Greenway?
Indeed, I would be happy to. And Florida is one of my favorite states along the East Coast Greenway, and had my key lime pie earlier this week, so I am ready to roll. So Florida is a huge state. It's our biggest state, over 600 miles. It starts up in Fernandina Beach and travels through 13 counties, making its way to Key West. And so I'm not going to talk about every mile of the route and everything that's happened, but I am going to share three major highlights from 2021. But before I do that, I just wanted to share for folks that are thinking about planning a trip, this is a great time of year actually to visit Florida, to plan a walking or biking adventure. And Florida is our only state along the East Coast Greenway where on the same trip you can see astronauts and rocket launches and manatees and bike through wildflower meadows and also see sophisticated cities like St. Augustine with Spanish colonial Renaissance architecture and modern public art sculpture. So very excited to talk about the progress that's been happening on the trail, though, and how proud the East Coast Greenway Alliance is for all the many partners that we've been working with. So the first major progress update that I want to share and celebrate is in South Florida, and that is the Miami Underline. Phase 1 is now open to the public. And amazingly, since it opened just over 8 months ago, over 1.5 million people, nearly 2 million people have visited this 0.5 mile section of the Miami Underline. It is incredible. And this is in a city with a population of 550,000 people. So the Miami Underline is an Envision 10-mile trail. It's part of the East Coast Greenway. And phases 2 and 3 are in the planning and development stages right now. But it's an amazing facility for mental, physical health, and defined community. So it's a perfect example of how greenways are for all people. Very closely connected to the city of Miami is the city of Miami Beach. So I also want to give a shout out to the city of Miami Beach because they are very close to being the next city along the entire East Coast Greenway to finish the whole trail within their city limits. So it'll be over 7 miles long. This is part of the Atlantic Greenway Network. And we are very proud of all of the hard work of both the city of Miami, but also the city of Miami Beach for their support and building out of the East Coast Greenway. Moving to Central Florida, major highlight that I wanted to share that you've probably heard about is the St. Johns River to Sea Loop. This is a nearly 260-mile section of the East Coast Greenway, and some of our most recently designated segments, including this year, are part of the St. Johns River to Sea Loop. So if you've been paying very close attention, you might have noticed that the Gobbler's Gap was finally filled in, and there was a ribbon cutting in May. And so now there's a beautiful stretch of 57 miles of continuous multi-use trail on the southern section of the St. Johns River to Sea Loop connecting to Titusville. And this is really an amazing partnership between Florida Department of Transportation's Sun Trail program, along with the Department of Environmental Protection's Office of Greenways and Trails. So the St. Johns River to Sea Loop, part of the East Coast Greenway, is a priority project of Florida DOT to complete. So we've got a map showing different segments and the phases that they're in, but this is going to have incredible progress in the years to come. Shifting further north to North Florida, I wanted to share a highlight of the core to coast. So this is a 40-mile envisioned loop that will connect the communities in and around downtown Jacksonville and to the beaches. And there's been great support from the city council, and there's an over $100 million funding commitment to build out this vision. And there's amazing progress happening right now. So if you visit Jacksonville, you'll see the construction on the Interstate 95 Fuller Warren Bridge. It goes over the St. Johns River. That's going to include a standalone shared use path that will be part of the East Coast Greenway, will be part of Core to Coast, and it's going to connect what have been disconnected neighborhoods and sections, including the San Marco and Riverside neighborhoods. So we have some media attention. We also have Mobility Week happening right now in Florida. And so the Alliance's executive director, Dennis, is actually going to be at a ribbon cutting for a section of trail in Neptune Beach, which the Core to Coast will connect to. And there's also a panel presentation happening on Friday all about the Core to Coast Trail that's part of the Safe Streets Summit that the North Florida TPO is hosting. So there's a lot of exciting things actually happening this week in Florida related to the trail and some incredible progress. So those are the three highlights I wanted to share right off the bat.
Thank you, Niles. Thank you. So you mentioned really quickly that we had position open in Florida. So just for those watching and viewing, if you're interested in that position, just wanted to share a quick video to get you hyped, to get you excited about joining the Greenway and engaging with a lot of these trails and greenways that Niles was talking about just now. All right, I don't know about you guys, but I'm so excited about all the things coming to the Sunshine State down in Florida. And the excitement just keeps going as we go north into Georgia and South Carolina. Next up is Brent Buse. He is our regional coordinator for that area. Hey, Brent, how's it going?
Hey, it's good, Angela. Thanks so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. So can you tell me and the viewers a little bit about what you've been working on with local and state governments along the Greenway in Georgia and South Carolina?
Sure. My region is definitely the farthest behind of the whole East Coast. There's historical and geographic reasons for that, but there are still really good things happening. And despite the pandemic and all the slowdowns that's caused, there's a lot of good stuff happening. So bear with me while I power through this list from 2 states. So in Georgia, Camden County, our southeasternmost county, continues to advance the Greenway. They're very excited to be part of it. Newest designated segment in Georgia is a little over 4.5 miles of concrete multi-use path along the Laurel Island Parkway, built by the Georgia Department of Transportation. That designated Greenway segment is actually part of a county-wide plan trail network called the Three Rivers Trail that will ultimately connect the Satilla River, where there's an existing trail segment in Woodbine, Georgia, the Crooked River, where there's a Crooked River State Park, great part of Georgia's state park system, and then the St. Mary's waterfront, really picturesque and charming spot that I hope many people get to see as the Greenway is developed. A little further north in Brunswick, Georgia, we've been providing assistance to Georgia's newest local advocacy group, Bike Walk Golden Isles, which is recruiting supporters already at community events. They're hosting neighborhood bike rides, really starting from ground zero on bike advocacy in this small coastal city, which is part of the Golden Isles area, where we have some great destinations that are already pretty good for bicycling, like St. Simon's Island and Jekyll Island, which features a lot of wonderful multi-use paths. They're also out there meeting with city, county, and regional planners on a much needed first ever bike and pedestrian master plan for the area, and it will be centered on the East Coast Greenway spine route, I'm really happy to report. So all this progress on paper is going to lead to progress on the ground in just a few short years. In nearby Darien, just to the north of Brunswick, efforts are underway to expand what's called the Highlander Trail, which will link a lot of important historical locations for coastal Georgia, including quite a few key Gullah Geechee cultural heritage sites, like Sapelo Island, the Sapelo Island Visitor Center, and Butler Island. Savannah, where I live, is working on its own 30-mile trail system known as Tied to Town, and we hope to begin the design work very soon on the East Coast Greenway co-located section. So moving into South Carolina, we have been a very important partner work in developing a bicycle and pedestrian master plan for Beaufort County. The draft plan, which I expect will be formally adopted very soon, includes a special feature section on the East Coast Greenway and emphasizes the need for a continuous greenway that will connect the northern and southern halves of that county. Charleston is in the midst of designing their own soon-to-be spectacular addition to the East Coast Greenway, a standalone bike and pedestrian bridge over the Ashley River, linking the historic Charleston Peninsula to the West Ashley area and neighborhoods, including the existing East Coast Greenway segment, the West Ashley Greenway. Many, many thanks to our good friends at Charleston Moves, the local advocacy group for Charleston County, for that very hard fought advocacy campaign. And we can't wait to see the final designs and can't wait to see that bridge there. It's really important for safety, access, equity, and will be one of the most photographed segments of the Greenway in my region, to be sure, when it's finished. There are a lot of other trail segments in South Carolina. They're in various stages of development right now, from Mount Pleasant, which has a town-wide plan called the Mount Pleasant Way, a network of connected multi-use paths linking neighborhoods, business districts, schools, and a good portion of that Mount Pleasant Way network is also the East Coast Greenway. So that's plan has been completed. They're working on it. They're already implementing it. And we've been able to designate some segments that they'd already built as part of the Greenway. The small town of Allendale has also been very assertive in developing their part of the Greenway, and they've been really creative. You know, they're a small town without a lot of financial capacity, and they've been turning old Forest Service roads into crushed stone multi-use path. And so doing this on the cheap, but creating really beautiful trails through some great national forest land kind of in the rural parts of South Carolina's coast. Georgetown and Horry counties are also working on a lot of trail segments, and we're going to see some great new designations coming out of northern South Carolina's coast in the coming years. Even with all that progress, we do have some long stretches of our current travel route that can be a little sketchy for people who are long distance walkers or touring cyclists. Certainly US Highway 17, there's some multi-mile segments of that connecting our existing trails that leave a lot to be desired and can foster kind of a stressful ride. But I'm happy to say that we have had a really productive dialogue with the South Carolina DOT over the past year and a half. And those conversations have led to an engineering directive within the agency that means anytime they touch any of the roads that are part of our interim travel route, when they're resurfacing an old rural highway or widening one, that we're definitely going to get some meaningful improvements for people walking and biking. And that's good news. We're impatient to see those improvements, but now that it's an official policy of the agency, they're going to start becoming a reality sooner than later.
Thank you, Bruce, for sharing so much about two states within a short amount of time. I think you really went for it. But there is one gem that you forgot to highlight, and that is the Laurel Island Parkway Trail that just had a ribbon cutting earlier this year. If it's okay with you guys, I'd love to share that video with you to get you kind of pumped to come down to the scenic Georgia and South Carolina trailways.
I live in Fernandina Beach, and we work very closely with the folks here in St. Mary's. They've got an active cycling club here, and we're here today to help the cycling club dedicate a new trail segment they've been working on for some time.
It's an honor to be here in Kingsland and in Camden County to celebrate together as we recover from 18 hard months. The East Coast Greenway is moving forward. Today is an inspiring day. It's marking an important step forward. So let's have fun, let's celebrate, let's enjoy the new trail, and then let's keep up our visionary work, closing gaps and making strides toward a bright future.
So I own Camden Bicycle Center. We've been a dealer for Trek and Giant bikes for many, many years now, over 20 years. And most folks would not come into the store and ask for a red bike or a blue bike or a really expensive bike. They would ask where they could safely ride their bikes. And so that conversation came up again and again and again. So I really started evaluating that conversation and go like, how can I help out with that? If we built greenways, they would be used daily.
1, 2, 3.
Hey!
Oh man, that was good. That was beautiful. Nice sunny day, nice beautiful trailway, safe trailway for cyclists, walkers, rollers, however you participate on the Greenway. Georgia's coming for you. She's coming. South Carolina's coming. Myrtle Beach, beautiful, scenic, incredible areas for people to engage on the Greenway. I'm going to bring Brent and Niles back up to the stage because I think it's really important. Not only have they talked about the developments that have happened in these states, but to give you a personal view of how they actually use the Greenway, because before this year, before our New York to Philly ride, they did a week a year tour where they did 1 week of the Greenway in succession for 9 years. So Niles and Brent have both been down to Florida. They've both ridden through Georgia and South Carolina, and they both have experience with these sections of the Greenway in their daily lives. So Niles and Brent, I would love for you guys to be able to share how you guys engage on the Greenway on a personal level and what some of your favorite sections are in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina.
Sure, I'm happy to hop in. So I got to ride our whole route in Florida over the course of about 12 days, 2 different events. Fun fact, you can walk the whole route in about 20 days. But I think some of the highlights for me were going through the Timucuan Ecological and Historical Preserve. I saw some gopher tortoises, even a coyote, wasn't expecting, from a safe distance. But then some of the other sections that I mentioned in the updates, Miami's amazing. Titusville is an official trail town, and they've really embraced the Greenway and trails as part of their identity as a town. So those are some of the highlights. And then, of course, finishing in the Keys is pretty amazing. So riding into Key West to mile 0 was pretty special.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It was really great to participate in the final week a year tour. And because of where my region is, I was leading the tour the 2 previous years. So got to pedal all the way through South Carolina and Georgia. And I mean, my favorite section in South Carolina is the Ravenel Bridge between Mount Pleasant and Charleston. It's one of the few places with any elevation. It is called the Low Country after all. But also I really like the Spanish Moss Trail, a beautiful, just platinum level construction with attention to every detail rail trail that's in Beaufort, South Carolina, about 12 miles end to end with lots of plans for expansion. In Georgia, I love the Woodbine Rail Trail that right now stops at the banks of the Satilla River, which looks primeval. There's not a lot of development in this part of coastal Georgia, and you can, you carry yourself back in time pretty easily standing on the banks of the Satilla River. On the day-to-day, I live just a block off of our current travel route, which is not currently on a protected greenway, but it is a green painted bike lane. Price Street in the historic district of Savannah. And so I'm riding on that pretty much every day, often with my 4-year-old daughter in tow on the back. And she loves the fact that that bike lane is green. It makes her very happy, particularly on St. Patrick's Day, which is kind of a big deal around here.
Awesome, awesome. And for those who don't know, Brent is kind of a moonlighter for costumes, so I can only imagine what his bike and his 4-year-old look like on St. Patrick's Day. So you guys, this is my last question for these two, so I'm gonna need you guys' help. I'm gonna need you guys to throw some questions in the chat so that we're not the only ones up here talking and I'm not the only ones pitching questions. I know they would love to hear from you about Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina, and any other questions you may have about what's going on with the Greenway. But until you guys help me out, the last question that we do have is kind of about the work that is coming in 2022. So we've both been talking about, or you both, not me, you guys have been talking about developments that have happened this year. But what are some things that you're excited about that are ongoing projects that may be reaching another phase of development or design in 2022, or even projects that have been long in the making that you're excited to see come to completion in 2022? I'll throw it to Niles and let him have the floor for this one first, and then Brent, you'll be up next.
Sounds good. Well, yeah, I started off talking about the Miami Underline and how there's been nearly 2 million visits to the first phased opening of 0.5 miles. So it just shows the pent-up demand. So I'm very, very excited about phases 2 and phases 3 of that project. And all the progress and community engagement and activation of the public space that's going to happen as a part of that. Also excited about closing gaps in the St. Johns River to Sea Loop. Florida DOT has a lot of segments already programmed and planned. So in the coming years, there's going to be more and more of the multi-use trail built and ready to explore that 260-mile loop. One area I also wanted to mention actually is St. Lucie County has an 18-mile trail vision and is hoping to have the first phase of that open next year. So I definitely want to give a shout out to St. Lucie County. This is sort of the Fort Pierce part of the state. And then further up north in North Florida, of course, the Corda Coast, filling gaps in it and connecting Jacksonville out to the beaches. One project, the Fuller Warren Bridge, which will be open hopefully very, very soon, will be a bike and pedestrian facility over the Interstate 95 bridge over the St. Johns River, connecting communities, connecting neighborhoods, enabling active transportation for people living in the region. So those are some of the things I'm very excited about in 2022, in addition to having a new Florida teammate representing down there.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you guys haven't seen it in the comments, I believe we posted the link to the job description. So if you're interested in checking it out, seeing what that entails, and seeing if you qualify, definitely be sure to hit the link in the comments. And I think we can place it again if you missed it, or you can find it on our website on our contact team page. So thank you, Niles, for sharing so much about what you're excited for Florida, and hopefully we can make a lot of those things come to fruition. Bruce, how are you?
All right, good. So in Georgia, we've got a long delayed connection, but I'm excited and hopeful that it's going to finally come to fruition soon. We were expecting back in April of 2020 to have a bicycle and pedestrian ferry service, regular operations launch to make our permanent connection for people between St. Mary's, Georgia, and Fernandina Beach, Florida. As of right now, if you travel to the St. Mary's waterfront, it's a bit of a dead end because it's really hard to get your bike across the St. Mary's River. It's a substantial river. And both cities on both sides of the border have dedicated money for this ferry service, but they were looking to open right after the pandemic started. And then they found out about some unfortunate hurricane-related damage to the fueling stations on the Florida side. It's indefinitely delayed right now is my latest information, but I know that there's a lot of interest in it. And in fact, just in the past couple of weeks, a professional tour group, Timberline Adventures, brought a group of about 8 or 10 folks who paid for a tour of the East Coast Greenway, and they were able to charter that ferry for a special trip just for their group. And I know that that demonstrated to the local leaders in that area how vital this ferry service will be. It's beautiful. You're looking at bottlenose dolphins, wild horses on the southern shores of Cumberland Island, salt marshes. It's just a really special experience, and I can't wait to see that connection go live. And then in South Carolina, there's so much momentum and leadership in Charleston County, and I can't wait to see the connections so that eventually we're going to see an almost continuous route from the northern end of Mount Pleasant all the way to the end of the West Ashley Greenway on protected facilities, with the historic downtown Charleston right in the middle of all of that network. And that is going to be something that's really going to draw a lot of bicycle tourism, and is also going to tremendously serve the residents of Charleston County who need to get around safely on foot and by bike.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh man, so you guys have kind of laid down the gauntlet for Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. If you guys have not, if you're viewing this and you haven't ridden on the greenways in these states, now you have a frame of reference for where you can start, where you can get some picturesque photos, and just where you can kind of explore and see where we need this funding to go in order to make the greenway safer and more accessible for everyone, no matter their skill level. We want to make this and keep this in all ages and abilities trailway. But that's all from us. I would love to hear from some people in the comments. It looks like we have a couple questions trickling in here so far. The first one from Justin Messier on Facebook. He asked, does it loop over to the west coast of Florida? He says he would love it. He's from Naples, Florida currently.
It truly is an East Coast Greenway. So there is a coast-to-coast trail vision actually for Florida, but we are currently just working on the East Coast of the state. Great question, though.
Yeah. We have not so much a question, but a comment here from Sue-Ann Elizabeth. She says she backpacked from NYC to Miami through cities and towns and used the East Coast Greenway a lot. Awesome news. Glad you were able to do such a big chunk of the Greenway. She says she's in the Keys now and she didn't see many East Coast Greenway signs. Niles, I think maybe you can speak to that a little bit about what we're doing with signage. We have some excited developments on that front as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Sign clutter is definitely an issue that they care deeply about in the Florida Keys specifically, actually. And so we have developed a ground-mounted sign. So a sign that literally goes on the asphalt as opposed to our traditional vertical mounted signs. And so we're hoping to use those ground mounted signs in places like the Florida Keys, which have very sensitive rules around vertical signs. But yeah, we have a goal as an organization for the whole route to be fully signed, but that also takes funding and support, of course, to purchase the signs, install them, fabricate them, things like that. So anyone who wants to help on signage, please hit us up and reach out.
Okay, our next question is from Kate Piper from YouTube. She says, any advice you'd give to someone, me, who'd like to bike the whole East Coast Greenway, specifically for the Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina segment? She did the Cali to Boston in 2013 and wants to bike the East Coast Greenway at some point. She currently lives in Connecticut.
Sure, I'll field this one first. Yeah, we want to be really upfront about the nature of the experience as far as the route right now. And South Carolina is kind of the good, the less good, and the downright stressful in certain areas. It's really important to look at our state pages. So go to greenway.org, and each state has its own page with specific route information. And so you can see where the kind of hot spots are, where the road hasn't been widened quite yet for the interim travel route, and where we don't have trail currently. I have personally ridden all of it, but I was with a group, and it definitely is a qualitatively different experience if you're solo. People have done it, and it kind of comes down to your tolerance for stressful riding conditions, your timing, like what time of year and what time of day you're out there, and a little bit of luck. So South Carolina, we want to be really clear about those conditions, particularly between the cities. in the rural areas where it's a divided 4-lane highway. Georgia is a lot less developed and a lot less trafficked on the interim route. And so my experience and many others is that riding Georgia is actually surprisingly pleasant. There's a long time you can be riding where you're not going to see a single car, and you can really clear your head and connect with nature in those sections.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in real quick on Florida. So while I've highlighted a lot of great progress that's happened in Florida, part of the reason why it's so important that we invest in this infrastructure and safety for bikes and pedestrians is because vulnerable road users, it's quite dangerous in Florida. Florida is, statistically one of the worst states for vulnerable road users. There are lots of crashes and accidents and fatalities and injuries that occur to people biking and walking. And so similar to sections of South Carolina, there are incredibly stressful interim on-road sections of the route in Florida. And so if you're thinking about a trip, definitely want to underscore Brent's point about going to our state pages, looking at the route, sending us a note if you have a detailed question, but also exploring, if you're from Connecticut, we've got some amazing sections. The state of Connecticut's over 50% complete, and we just released a New Haven to Providence, Rhode Island guide to the East Coast Greenway. So if you haven't already ridden that stretch, I would highly recommend it as well.
Okay. Seems like we got a lot of excitement from Sue Ann Elizabeth about doing some signage down in Florida. She's game. She says, let me know. And then we have Steve, retired in cycling, who sent us a comment on YouTube saying, last month I cycled the East Coast Greenway from Beaufort to Connecticut. Love the Spanish Moss Trail. Virginia was also a highlight. So that's awesome, Steve, that you were able to do that. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. Yeah, got some support from Brent and Nas as well. Oh, man. Thank you. Okay. Kate Pippa says, Pippa, thank you. And yes, I love biking the East Coast Greenway in Connecticut and did see that guide. So awesome. We got some people out here on the Greenway. Yes, we're excited. Sue Ann Elizabeth, another comment. The keys are very dangerous for bikes and pedestrians on the bridges. Definitely need lights or something. Absolutely. We'll work lights into the next budget. All right. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today and supporting the work that we're doing with the Greenway. In addition to tuning in for our Impact Series, which we'll be back for next week, same time, same place, you can also go online to donate at greenway.org/donate. We'll be dropping that link in the chat for you guys to click on and make that easily accessible. In addition to donating, you can also join our NYC to Philly ride that we will be having again in May of 2022. That's a really big, nice community event for us. It allows us to fundraise, get out on the Greenway together, and just see these incredible 2 metropolitan areas in the north. So thank you guys again for tuning in with us, sharing your experiences along the Greenway, fielding us some questions, and just hanging out on a Tuesday afternoon. Again, we will see you guys next Tuesday, same time, same place. We'll be back with Christine Keeney talking about Maine, New Hampshire, and Eastern Massachusetts. Paxton Green says, thank you, Brent Bruce is amazing. So thank you guys. I want to let you guys enjoy your Tuesday. Thank you guys so much for hanging out.
Thanks so much for joining us. See you on the Greenway.
Bye, everyone.